Well, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is David Martin. I'm the president of the Arizona Chapter Associated General Contractors. AZAGC has been an active part of Arizona's political fabric since 1934, as is evidenced by our facility here at the Capitol. Today we have a number of business leaders that represent large and small companies across the state. We have Ricardo Carlo. He's the president and CEO of the Associated Minority Contractors Association of Arizona. We have Danny Seiden, who's the CEO of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have Tom Dunn, who's the president of the Arizona Builders Alliance. We have Michelle Almer, who's the executive director of the Arizona Retailers Association, and Chad Heinrich, who is the state director for the National Federation of Independent Business, Arizona. We'd like to first of all thank Senator Sinema and Kelly for being willing to listen to all sides on this issue. We're grateful they're taking a pragmatic approach to this very complicated matter that involves many, many employers and employees in Arizona. This message is really for President Joe Biden. You told the American people you'd shoot straight with them. Well, I want to shoot straight with you, Mr. President. 95% of Arizona workers are non-union. We are a right-to-work state, voted on by the people in the 80s. You talked about being an inclusive president, an America for everyone. Yet you continue to support the PRO Act, an act that isolates 95% of the workers in Arizona. The PRO Act prohibits employers' ability to communicate with employees during an organizing drive. It allows the private info on employees to be provided to the union, allows strikes at any time and for any reason. I could go on, but we have a great lineup today and all these wonderful business leaders behind us, and I'd like to turn that dais over to Ricardo Carlo. He is the president and CEO of the Associated Minority Contractors. Ricardo?
Morning, and thank you, David. As David mentioned, I am the president of the Associated Minority Contractors of Arizona, and our mission is primarily the support of all the minority and women's small, veteran, disadvantaged business enterprise contractors of the state of Arizona. And we, as an association, stand against this PRO Act and hope that the president will follow us and support us in this matter. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce Danny Swiker with the Arizona Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Ricardo. And thanks for those comments, Dave, and for your leadership in trying to defeat this terrible legislation. As Ricardo mentioned, my name is Danny Seiden, and I'm the president of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We strongly oppose the PRO Act for the damage it's poised to do to the Arizona economy and our state's competitive advantage. Arizona is one of 27 states that is a right-to-work state, and it's been enshrined in our Constitution that way since 1946. We know that right-to-work states typically outperform non-right-to-work states with higher job growth, lower unemployment rates, and better economic output. And that gives us a real economic advantage. And our economy proves it. The only thing hotter than our temperatures lately has been the Arizona economy. And here are a few examples. Just recently, the Office of Economic Opportunity released that the Arizona private sector created 16,000 jobs last month. That's 16,000 jobs in the month of July. That's a record. Additionally, the Arizona Commerce Authority has shown that Arizona is outpacing the rest of the country in the average job growth. And that's not just happening in our metro areas, but it's also happening in our out counties and our rural areas, which is fantastic. Additionally, in fiscal year 2021, the state's general fund set a new record for percentage growth in a year. The fiscal year's individual income tax revenues were $2 billion above the previous years, and this is in the midst of a pandemic. So this is the question. Why do we want to mess with this? Why would we want to put that all at risk? Because if the PRO Act were to pass and become law, workers' choice on whether to join a union would go away. Their access to a secret ballot in a union organization election would be dramatically undermined. And additionally, this gig economy that we love in Arizona and we've come to talk about all the time, we can kiss that goodbye. It would make it more difficult for Arizonans to be classified as independent contractors, removing that flexibility that people have come to rely on. And unfortunately, there's more litigation for employers and more red tape for employees. And if the PRO Act passes, it'll also mean fewer things, fewer jobs and less economic growth, and also a less competitive Arizona. So we want to thank and tell Senator Sinema and Senator Kelly that we appreciate them for not signing on as co-sponsors to the PRO Act, because if they were to change their opinions, New York Senator Chuck Schumer will put this up for a vote. And we also don't want to see the multi-trillion-dollar reconciliation bill used as a vehicle to advance a watered-down but just as damaging big labor wish list. So again, we urge Senator Sinema and Senator Kelly to maintain their positions on the PRO Act and continue to stand with Arizona job creators. But now it's my pleasure to introduce Tom Dunn of the Arizona Builders Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So my name is Tom Dunn. I'm the president of the Arizona Builders Alliance. We're the commercial construction trade association that represents vertical construction. Dave Martin is the president of the AGC, who represents horizontal construction. So we're on the, also to verify that we're on the commercial side of things, not on the residential. The PRO Act attempts to increase union density and union leverage without regard for the negative impacts it would have on workers, businesses, and the entire American economy. Currently, 94% of Arizona businesses are merit shop, open shop, with union workers making up 6% of the Arizona workforce. As we're talking about this today, Arizonans have freedom to choose if they would like to participate in a union shop or an open shop. The open shop's upward mobility, fair wages, work opportunities, and labor practices have proven to be a better choice for Arizonans, with 94% of those workers making that choice. Arizonans are individuals that make their own decisions and are responsible for their own actions. Individual rights are extremely important to us, and our pathway to the pursuit of life, liberty, happiness, and personal property should be individually decided. Arizonans have been clear on these decisions, and the result is a vigorous economy that is poised for not only an economic rebound, but an economic boom. Arizona's economic future is at risk if the PRO Act becomes federal law. All sectors of the economy would be at risk. Workers and businesses that have built strong relationships and business models would have to completely restructure to an uncertain future. Repealing the right to work, worker protections would strip millions of Americans of the right to refrain from joining a union, hindering private sector growth and business migration to the pro-business states like Arizona. The PRO Act would strip personal privacy from employees, as their personal information, home addresses, cell phone numbers, assigned work shifts would be shared with organizers so that they could freely contact the employees. The death of the secret ballot is also included in this act. Card check is an organizer's preferred way to run an election, as the employee's individual vote is made public, open to the election to the acts of intimidation. Not only is the PRO Act an attack on individual freedoms, but it is also an attack on the employer's ability to protect their own interests. So with that, I'd like to share, let's see who's next. Michelle Ulmer with the Arizona Retailers Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Michelle Ulmer. I'm the Executive Director of the Arizona Retailers Association. We represent the interests of retailers throughout the state and in all categories. And it helps Arizona play a critical, or helps play a critical role in the economy of Arizona. Our mission is to ensure that we give businesses the tools they need to succeed, and that Arizona's talented and skilled workforce will always be able to choose retail as a path to achieving meaningful and successful careers. Retailers are facing challenges these days, though with the pandemic and difficulties finding new workers leading the way. We have worked with our leaders on the state and federal level to work through these challenges in the hopes that Arizona small businesses will remain open. We simply cannot add the challenging economic environment by passing the PRO Act. Before the pandemic, our industry had record highs in consumer confidence, in wage growth, and in employment. As we climb out from the last 18 months, we need every tool to get back on our feet. The PRO Act is a harmful bill that would essentially give unions free rein to wreak havoc on local businesses by lifting limitations on picketing and causing economic injury to third parties. That means any business, as well as their consumers, could be subject to picketing, boycotts, and harassment, even if they have nothing to do with the labor dispute. Furthermore, the PRO Act would overturn the right to work that is enshrined in our state's constitution. That means Arizona workers could once again be forced to pay union dues despite not supporting the unionization, or else potentially lose their job. For the sake of Arizona retailers, as well as the jobs they provide, the economic activity that they create, and the communities they support, our senators should continue to stay away from signing onto this bill and oppose this legislation. And we are grateful for their stands to this point. Thank you, Senator Sinema and Senator Kelly. And now I'd like to introduce Chad Heinrich from the National Federation of Independent Business.
Thank you, Michelle. My name is Chad Heinrich. I am the State Director for National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB. NFIB is Arizona's leading small business advocacy association. Its membership spans the spectrum of business operations, ranging from sole proprietors to firms of hundreds of employees. NFIB's mission is to promote and protect the right of its members to own, operate, and grow their businesses. We do this through advocacy in every state capital and in Washington, D.C. Small business is big in Arizona. We are a small business state. Collectively, small businesses employ about 1 million Arizonans. Thousands of small businesses choose to do business as independent contractors. These are businesses that both consumers and other businesses rely on every day. The owners of these businesses choose to be independent contractors because of the flexibility it affords them and the independence it allows for them by enabling them to run their own business and be their own boss. They do not want to be converted into full-time employees, and many fear that they will end up losing clients because of the PRO Act. The PRO Act would significantly restrict the rights of independent contractors and make it illegal to hire an independent contractor for any task deemed within the usual line of work for a business. This is problematic for businesses that rely on independent contractors and the thousands of NFIB members who choose to act as independent contractors. The PRO Act includes a test to determine independent contractor status. This type of policy has proven to be a problem for businesses in California. California adopted a strict 3-part test to classify independent contractors. This has been a significant problem for California's small businesses. Why would we want to subject the country to such a complicated process? When California first adopted this test, they had to immediately carve out dozens of exceptions because it was unworkable. The PRO Act has no exceptions, so imagine what kind of a mess that would be for independent contractors. In addition, the law was litigated, and the state Supreme Court in California had to step in to interpret how to apply the law in practice. Arizona's policymakers have went in the complete opposite direction as California in support of small businesses and in efforts to simplify the contractor relationship. In 2016, NFIB championed Arizona legislation establishing a first-in-the-nation Declaration of Independent Business Status. This means that Arizona businesses can formalize their relationships with independent contractors by having the contractor sign a declaration that creates a rebuttable presumption that an independent contractor relationship exists. This is yet one more policy in the PRO Act that is clearly in opposition to the business climate that has brought Arizona to the forefront of economic growth. Our small business community and the millions of Arizonans who depend on it are counting on our U.S. senators to put a stop to the PRO Act. The numbers are clear and unequivocal. NFIB members are strongly opposed to the PRO Act. According to a recent member ballot, 95% of our members believe small businesses should be able to hire independent contractors to perform tasks essential to their business. The PRO Act, as I had mentioned, includes a stricter version of California's ABC independent contractor law that forced the state of California to immediately carve out dozens of exceptions. In addition, 89% of members oppose requiring a contractor to be responsible for a subcontractor's hiring process. This is another area that would potentially upend our franchise model as we know it. For these reasons and for many others, we are supportive of our U.S. senators and in their opposition to the PRO Act and for not signing on to that piece of legislation. And I appreciate your time, and I'll turn it back to David Martin. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to act as your traffic cop here. So we have a great group of folks here that are more than willing to answer any questions that you may have, and start with anyone that would like to ask questions. Anybody?
You mentioned the low rate of union membership in this state. Do you think there are a lot of workers in this state, though, who would prefer to join unions but are dissuaded by the fact that the right to work laws make it very ineffective, that make organized labor in general very ineffective in this state?
Well, currently it's a freedom of choice, so that would be up to them. I don't think I can answer on their behalf, but quite frankly, that's a choice that they currently have right now. If they want to have the opportunity to join a union, they can. It's currently at their disposal right now. Do you want to?
Well, I would say that upward mobility is really important because one of the things that we're for is the merit shop, which means you get awarded on your merit and your ability to perform the job. So in some cases, if you're locked into a different status, then your wage is determined previous to that rather than towards your ability. Say you're just awesome at your job and you go out there and get the market to pay you what you're worth. I think that's what most workers would want to do. Does that answer your question?
Partially, but
Okay, any more?
But in general, obviously, right to work states just make organized labor less effective in general. If people can opt out of the union, if people don't have to be part of that, then it makes it just less effective and less worthwhile to actually.
Well, I think worker choice is important. As an employee, I'd like to choose if I could be in a union or not. That should be their choice rather than be forced or mandated on them. I know that in the last few years, there's been lots of mandates talked about, and I think that it's overwhelmingly the people, the workers, feel like they should have a choice to do what they want with themselves, and ultimately it comes down to that. And the PRO Act is really a top-down organizational effort from the other side, is to force the union activity on all workers rather than a bottom-up where the workers demand. Sally Field out there going for workers. That's not what the PRO Act does. The PRO Act is the opposite. It forces it on people. It forces the choice or the unchoice.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got some. There's been talk of passing aspects of the PRO Act through reconciliation. I was wondering if you've been in contact with Cinnamon Kelly's offices on that, what kind of responses have you got?
Danny, do you want to answer that? I'm more than happy to.
Sure. Like the softball. I think in my comments I addressed that a little bit. We're not a fan of that. We don't think that's what reconciliation is for, nor do we think that would be appropriate. So again, we're doing everything we can to keep the PRO Act from not passing, period. Not the way it should be passed, which is from a correct vote and not through reconciliation. And Dave, if you want to add to that, feel free. Yeah. Sorry if that's an oversimplific answer, but I believe in the democratic process, and the legislative process should be done correctly.
Yeah, I guess my question is,
Have we reached out to them on that? Yes, we have. Our members have sent letters to both offices on that. We've had a good open line of communication with both offices, and we found them both to be responsive to us as well.
If they do use reconciliation and they sidestep that 60-vote filibuster requirement, what are the prospects of this passing? What are the chances of it passing if they do that?
I'm not a Nostradamus, Jeremy, so I would have to pass that off to someone else. I think the better question is that legal? Would the parliamentarian allow that too? I think there's a lot of questions that come into play with that. So someone else want to take a shot at that one?
Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.